Jerusalem Press Club. You're most welcome, and welcome to our viewers on YouTube. Please turn your cell phones into silent mode or switch them off altogether. And we are very happy to host this afternoon Mr. Arie King, who's the director and founder of the Israel Land Fund, ILF. He started the Israeli Fund while trying to recover land on the Mount of Olives in 2007, and since then he has been active both in recovery and preservation of Jewish land in East Jerusalem. And in October 2013, he was elected to the Jerusalem City Council. And this is part of our briefings and meetings associated with the 50th anniversary of the unification of Jerusalem. So, Mr. King, please, we always welcome some 20-minute introduction and then lively Q&A, please.
Okay, thank you, Uri, for inviting me.
And don't forget your coffee.
I will not forget, don't worry. Thank you for coming and listening to what I have to say. My name is Arie King. I was born in a kibbutz. Kibbutz, it's a kind of, I would say, agricultural community in the south next to Gaza. Kibbutz Alumim, it's a religious kibbutz. Alumim, my parents made Aliyah. They left England in 1968, and I was born in the kibbutz, and they still live in the kibbutz. It's important for me to say that because I think from looking at myself in the mirror, how come I got to where I got to, I'm sure that my parents have something to do with that. And the background from the kibbutz where I was born and grown up. The kibbutz is 1.5 kilometers from Gaza. When I was 15, 16 years old, and I'm now 43, I was hitchhiking in central of Gaza, meaning I was going to friends in Gush Katif, or my sister living in Netzarim, it was a settlement in the middle of the Gaza Strip. I was cycling there on my bicycles, without police escorting me, without the army escorting me. We were swimming in the most beautiful beaches in Israel that were in the Gaza Strip. At Shabbat, our weekend, we were walking to visit my sister. I was walking in the markets of Gaza with my father, going for shopping there or visit friends, Arabs that are living in Gaza. This was when I was 15, 16 years old. In the big city of the south of Israel, there is a city called Be'er Sheva. There was a market called the Bedouin Market. The people that came and trade there were Arabs from Gaza. And I remember myself, like many others, going back from Be'er Sheva to the kibbutz with, in the taxi, Arab taxi driver. All the passengers are Arab from Gaza, feeling safe, feeling, no problems. But what happened to Gaza, we all know. Today, Gaza is the most dangerous place in Israel, and some will say even one of the most dangerous places in the world, for a Jew at least. And not just to the Jews that going in, but also to the Jews living around the Gaza Strip, like my parents today. From a place that we were working together with the Arabs, they worked in the kibbutz, we were going to their weddings and celebrations. Today, it's a Judenrein, no Jews inside. And from there, terror is arriving by missiles, tunnels under the ground. And it didn't happen one day when Arik Sharon, the late Prime Minister, decided to transfer the Jews from the Gaza Strip. It's happened in stages. It started when Israel decided to withdraw from the central of the cities in Gaza Strip, from Rafiah, from Jabalia, from Khan Yunis, from Gaza, just from central of the cities. because Jews are not in the cities, so Israel said, we will withdraw from center of the cities and we will stay in the settlements.
I just remind you to get to Jerusalem eventually.
Of course. No, you could not understand what I'm doing here without understanding what is my example.
Okay.
After withdrawing from center of the cities, we withdraw from other areas, open areas, and then the Jews were gated in fences in the settlements, and then in order to get to the settlement, you had to go through checkpoint, and really, at 2004, the Prime Minister decided to transfer the Jews, and the only thing he did, Arie King, is to close the gates that were there already. And today we know how much it's so dangerous and how many terror is coming from there. And this is exactly what is already started to happen in Jerusalem, unfortunately. We see that there are 8 neighborhoods in Jerusalem that totally behaving like an apartheid area, meaning Jews are not allowed to enter. 8 neighborhoods, I'm saying it already for a few years, people didn't understand what I'm talking about, but if you read the newspaper just in this weekend, you already read or heard that, yes, the government of Israel is planning to take out of Jerusalem some neighborhoods and make them as a local committees, not part of Jerusalem. It's the same 8 neighborhoods that I'm talking already for a few years, that this is where it's starting. The Gaza Strip is coming to Jerusalem, and God forbid we will have the East Jerusalem Strip like we have the Gaza Strip. In 1997, I moved to Jerusalem. As a student, I would look for a place to work, and a family from US looked for somebody to take responsibility to one of the projects, and this is how I got to what I'm doing for the last 20 years almost. And this is redeeming the land, buying land in Jerusalem. Today it's all over the country, from the Galilee in the north, Negev in the south, Judea and Samaria, and of course it's Jerusalem, buying land for the future of the Jewish people in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel. This is what I'm doing. I'm not the first one. I hope I'm not the last one. Sorry, I hope I will be the last one, because I hope the next one to do it will be the government and not private people like me and others that are doing it. It's the same like Abraham, our patriarch, did. He bought the cave in Hebron. Later, the same did it's Isaac and Jacob. And like 100 something years ago, the JNF, the Jewish National Fund, did the same. But they don't do it anymore. And therefore, we are continuing what they already started. And we're buying land in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, of course. And when people ask me, and if you will take my phone now, you will see how many proposals I'm getting to my phone, because I'm connected to the website of the Israel Land Fund every day. If we could buy the amount of property that we are being offered
by Arabs,
you cannot imagine what a change we could do. Unfortunately, the cow want to give the baby cow to drink more than the baby cow can drink. Meaning we cannot buy so much because we don't have enough money to sponsor all of the properties.
You're not raising funds here.
No. I'm just saying.
No, I want to alert the people.
So we are being offered. So then the question is, what are we buying and what we are not? So I have an example that will give you the sense of what is the idea. It's an example that I thought about. It's called the onion example. The onion, the vegetable. Take the vegetable, the onion, the most bitter part of the onion, what is it? The heart of the onion, the inside of the onion. Take the onion, put it in the soup, put it in the barbecue. The sweetest part of the onion, what is it? When you heat it, the heart of the onion. The same place that was the most bitter one became the most sweet, the sweetest one, part of the onion. But if you take the same art of the onion and put it in the fire or in the soup without the layers around, no taste, or it will be lighted in fire of the barbecue if it's in the fire. In order it to become sweet, you need the layers around it. And if you take the onion and you cut it, what will happen? Tears, correct? This is the story of what we are doing in regarding to Jerusalem. The art of every Jew, never mind where you live. You live in New York, Johannesburg, Sydney, Tokyo, or Shanghai. When you are praying, you're praying to the direction of Israel. When you are in Israel, to Jerusalem. And when you are in Jerusalem, to the Temple Mount. And when you are at the Kotel, at the Western Wall, you are not praying to the wall. You're praying a bit in an angle to where? To the Holy of Holiness. Because this is the only holy site we have in the world. If you live in the east side of Jerusalem, like where I live in Mount of Olives, I am looking to the west, to the Temple Mount, to the Holy of Holiness. If you are in the west side, you turn your face to the east. In order to protect and to see a temple being built in our times at this place, I believe we need to protect this place. And how we do that? By putting Jews, layers and layers of Jews around of this heart of the Jewish nation. If we will not be there, for God forbid, some people, I believe in this moment, somewhere in the world, people are thinking how to cut and divide the city. If that will happen, God forbid, we will cry. We will cry again, like we cried in the history few times, when part of our city, and especially the heart of our nation, the Temple Mount, was taken from us. And this is exactly what I want to avoid. So it's natural, like the onion. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of heat around this place. If we want to see this bitter place, the Temple Mount, like it is today, become the most sweetest place in the world, and where I believe that peace will come to the world, it will happen just if we will protect this area by putting Jews around and protecting this place and blocking any idea of splitting and dividing and cutting the city again. So this is what I'm doing for the last almost 20 years, focusing in Jerusalem, but knowing that Jerusalem is not again, we have layers. So we have City of David, the Ammonite village, we have Mount of Olives, we have Sheikh Jarrah, Shimon HaTzadik. Then we have another layer, Abu Dis, Nof Tzion in Jabal Mukaber, Bet Hanina, Bet Safaf, and we have more layers, even outside of Jerusalem. Gush Etzion, E1, Nebi Samuel. Anything that can stop, any Jewish presence that can stop or can disturb any plan of dividing and cutting the city, this is exactly our goal, to be there and to settle there. One of the things that we are also doing is to locate Jewish property that was abandoned at 1948 and to reclaim it by the Jews that bought it before 1948 and to bring it back to Jewish hands. And so this is what I'm doing with the Israel. This is what the Israel Land Fund is doing. This is what our goal, and also, of course, to educate the Jews the importance of holding the land of our promised land. How much it's so important for the Jewish nation, but also for all other religions. Because I believe in our prophecies, and I can learn from the history that Jerusalem had very few periods that there was really peace in Jerusalem and to the region. It was when the temple, the first one and the second one, was built. And in our tradition, it's written, in our books, it's written that every generation that is at his time, the temple is not being built, this generation is considered like that is that at the same generation, the temple was demolished or destroyed. And I hope that in my time, I will see the temple built. And I will do everything in order to do that. And this is what I'm doing with the Israel Land Fund. Besides of that, as Uri said, for the last 3.5 years, I'm a councillor in the municipality of Jerusalem, city council. Until 3 months ago, I was in the coalition with the mayor, Nir Barkat. I left this coalition because I had all the time conflicts with him. I know many people, I believe also in this room, many people believe that he's a right wing, but I think he's extremely left wing. Extremely.
You're talking Nir
Barkat. Yeah. Because I never in my life checking people according to what they say or what they declare. I look at what they do. Because I'm also kind of, I less talk, I'm more doing, working on the ground, changing the reality. And when I check what he did in his period and what happened to the city at his time, it's a disaster. Jerusalem went 15 years back. Like I said before, 8 neighborhoods. It's happened just in the last 8 years.
Can you mention them?
Kfar Akeb, Kalandia, Anata, Shuafat refugee camp, Samiramis, Ras Khamis.
These were not part of old Jerusalem. You know, they were annexed. These are villages.
Yeah, absolutely, like Jabal
So why you want to keep them? Just
I want
giving you a chance to.
Thank you. I want to keep them like I want to keep any meter of the city. It is no different between these 8 neighborhoods to the neighborhood where I live in Mount of Olives. It's the same, like Jabal Mukaber. There is no difference between these 8 neighborhoods and also the neighborhoods.
Kalandia was part of Jerusalem? Never.
No, but also where I live. Was never.
So why do you want to keep all of them with all the Palestinians living there?
I don't have problem with the Palestinians living with Arabs. I am not a racist, and the leftists are
racist.
Very racist because they want to see the Arabs behind the walls. They don't care about what will happen to them. They will live in the worst conditions. They will kill each other. The left will be happy. They don't see any more Arabs. I don't have any problem to live with Arabs. I don't have any problem. I have problems, sorry, when we don't clean the streets in East Jerusalem, when we don't collect the garbage in East Jerusalem, when we don't invest in infrastructure, roads, sewage. I am in the municipality, every time when we vote on a budget to West Jerusalem, I ask why we don't see exactly the same budget to East Jerusalem. It should be even more, because there, East Jerusalem is even worse, so we need to invest more. Now, I'm not hiding my interest. My interest is very pure. For my interest, I'm doing that.
Right.
Okay? Because I know if Kfar Akeb and Kalandia and Samiramis and Ras Khamis, all of these neighborhoods would be cleaner, safer, developed, planned. So there was more chance that today Jews would live there, and today Jews would go and shop there. Because it was neglected for 50 years, there are roads in this area that last time they were paved at 1966. Can you imagine? 51 years and nobody checked, nobody renewed the roads. Now the sad story is that when you ask the Arabs living in East Jerusalem, I all the time said that. Today in the morning I saw a poll that was published in a Ynet. I'm saying it for years. If you will ask the Arabs, my neighbors in Mount of Olives, or the ones that living in Kalandia, Kfar Akeb, everywhere, where do you want to live? In the Arab side or in the Jewish side? Most of them will say, in the Jewish side. Everybody said, nonsense. Today it was published that the Arab Institute in Ramallah did a research did a poll. More than 1,000 Arabs, 70% of them said what I'm saying all the time, that they want to live in the Israeli side. And why? It's obvious. They look what's happening in Abu Dis, what's happening in Iraq, in Baghdad, in Syria, in Damascus, in Egypt, in Hebron. And they see in Israel, under Israeli sovereignty, it's safer. Usually they get higher salaries, education, medical services. Why not? They are human beings. This is exactly what the left don't care. I want them to live in a good condition, because if they will live in a good condition, I believe they will integrate exactly like the Arabs, Israelis that living in Al-Fahim and living in the Galilee. You know, in the Galilee, in Israel, north of Israel, there are 70% Arabs of the population. In East Jerusalem, the Arabs are just 55%. In East Jerusalem, 55% Arabs. Some people would say 60%. And the rest are Jews. So from demographic point of view, north of Israel, the Galilee, is in so-called wealth condition or demographic situation than in East Jerusalem. So why we can live with Arabs in the Galilee and we cannot live with Arabs in Jerusalem? I don't have any problem. And check me, I am the only one that is calling for years to give full citizenship to the Arabs living in Israel, in Jerusalem. Full citizenship. From some reason, very surprising, all the human rights people, all the leftists, that I call them the racists, they are silent. Why they don't push for that? You know why? Because they know exactly like me what will happen. Once the Arabs in Jerusalem would get full citizenship, they will leave the city.
Leave the city?
Leave the city. Today, I call the Arabs in Jerusalem Zionist prisoners, or Zion prisoners, exactly like the Jews in Soviet Union. Why? Because the government of Israel at 1968 decided a temporary decision, 49 years already, temporary, that Arab, in order to keep his rights as a resident of Israel, must stay in Jerusalem. It's insane. Insane. An Arab that was born in Jerusalem cannot take now, he was married, he cannot now move to Jaffa, to Haifa, to Eilat, to Netanya. He cannot. If he would do it, he will lose his citizenship, his residency status. So we are locking them inside this golden jail. You know how many Jews left how many Jews left Jerusalem since 1967?
Half a million.
Thank God you are wrong. But 350,000 Jews that were living in Jerusalem left the city because we have freedom of movement. I can move to the kibbutz, I can move to Netanya, I can move to New York.
Arabs, they leave, all of them, if they get residency of Israel, they leave the city? This is...
What residence? Citizenship.
Citizenship, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure, I talk with Arabs. Sometimes, some days more than I meet Jews, I meet the Arabs. I live next to when they have issues between themselves, they want me to compromise between both sides because I'm not connected to either, any side. So I meet them in the shops where I live. They come to my office. They are human beings. This is what the leftists don't get it. I talk with the Arab with the same level, the same level. The leftists are saying, we will tell you what is correct. We will bring Yasser Arafat. Did somebody ask the people here if they wanted Yasser Arafat? They cursed Arafat. They're still cursing him until these days. Go to the houses in Judea, in East Jerusalem, and count how many pictures you see of Yasser Arafat, how many pictures you see of King Hussein. You cannot compare it. They hate Yasser Arafat. For them, what he did for them is what he had all the time, the conflict with Faisal Husseini also, because the locals here never accepted him as their leaders. But we told them, he's your leader. And this is exactly what we told them: we will put the wall. You will be behind the wall. You will be stuck in a ghetto. And this is what I'm against, because of that, look what's surprising. It's not surprising, it's very logic. Since Israel put what we call I call it the political line of the barrier, they call it the security barrier. Nonsense, not security, nothing even close to it. It's a political line. But since we put this line, fence, walls, suddenly the numbers of Arabs living in Jerusalem that are involved in terror jumped in more than 1,000%. It was known that the Arabs in Jerusalem are not so much involved. Here and there, they were all the time. But few. Today, most of the attacks, not in Jerusalem, in all of Israel. Not talking in Judea and Samaria, talking even in Tel Aviv, everywhere who are the terrorists? Arab Israelis, because they have blue ID. And they can move everywhere. Blue ID as a residence, not as a citizenship. So they have freedom of movement, so they have freedom of religion, they have freedom of everything, education, medical, everything they have. One thing that they don't have, because they are not citizens, they cannot vote to the Knesset, to the Parliament of Israel. This is the only thing. If the price is another 2 Knesset members because of allowing them to vote,
you're willing to pay it.
I'm willing to pay it.
And what about the city council here? They can take over the city council, no? They can decide who the mayor will be. No, I'm asking.
I'm sure that if they will be able to vote, they will vote to Barkat because, as I said, he's very good for the Arabs, very bad to the Jews. Barkat, from my perspective, is not connected to the roots of our city. He doesn't understand what is Jerusalem. He's trying to make Jerusalem as a Tel Aviv or New York. He don't get it, that this is a holy city, that tourists are coming to Jerusalem not to swim, not to see festivals that they can see everywhere in Amsterdam or in New York or in London. They come to this city because of the holiness of this city. Most of them, I not say everybody. Right. Most of them are like that. You know how many tourists are not coming to Israel, because they cannot get to Jerusalem or they cannot sleep in Jerusalem? But if they can go to Jerusalem and cannot go to Tel Aviv because there's no room, for example, they will come to Israel. Because the reason for them to come to Israel is Jerusalem, not Tel Aviv.
Arieh, let's open now.
You are welcome.
Thank you. I think this is very provocative and original. Please, Johannes.
Please tell me your name and where you came from, so I will know what your background.
I'm working for German media. Just a question to understand: if the East Jerusalem Arabs are permanent residents, they cannot vote for the Knesset, but they can vote for the city council.
Yeah.
So they can vote for near Barakat if they want.
Yeah. But they are not participating.
But the question of Uri was, why don't they take over the city the city council?
From political reasons. They don't want to recognize that Israel is a sovereign in this area. This is why they don't participate. Many times, when there are elections, so you see even some groups that are connected somehow to the Palestinian Authority that are coming and recording the Arabs that are going into the elections where you put
the ballots.
What?
Ballots.
Where you vote, okay? In order to scare the people. The people will know that you are participating in that. But look.
Will they vote for you? Will they vote for you?
My biggest election gathering was in East Jerusalem with Arabs.
Yeah.
The biggest one. It was in
Well, they
Wadi
voted for
Kadum.
you.
They voted for me. They voted for me. You go to areas where there is no Jews, they voted for me. I mean, if you ask me, next time, more than what happened the last election. Because they said, people were asked, why are you voting for Arieh? Because they said, because he is driving his car in the same road that we are, and he smells the stink from the garbage like we smell. And when there is a sewage in the roads, he smell and he walking on it. He's a local here. He knows our problem. All the others are coming before the elections, promising this list, and after the election they forget what they promised and who they promised it to. I'm not. I'm there every day. When I walk at Shabbat, I live in Mount of Olives. When I walk at Shabbat, our weekend, I'm praying in the Western Wall in the morning. When I go through the street there, every time I'm there, they call me, Arieh, we need this, we want that, everything. Shops, neighbors, issues of parking issues, all kind of stuff.
Guys, remember, if he becomes the mayor, it started here. Yes, next. More, yes, please.
Rainer Schmidt, German press. I have a question to 3 different places in the city. The situation on the cemetery of the Mount of Olives, has it improved or why didn't the government more? There were plans.
Let's say one at a time, okay?
It is improved dramatically. Okay, thank God it took long time. Really, it's look. I lived there almost 20 years. I can tell you there were times that it was really dangerous to be in the cemetery itself. They throw on your stones when you were next to your family member that you came to memorize them, breaking into cars, even stabbing people. I have a friend that was stabbed there. He lost his kidney. Today, the cemetery is very secure. There is still a problem, the access, the roads to the cemetery. But the cemetery, very safe today.
There were plans for a park in the Valley of the Kings, the Garden of the Kings.
Yeah.
What is the state of affairs?
Do you remember what I said about Barkat? We have a sentence it's from the Bible when Jacob came to his father Isaac and got his blessing. He dressed himself with the clothes of his brother Esau.
His mother arranged it.
Yeah, so his father, when his Isaac was blind, he said the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau.
Esau.
This is Barkat. He's talking right and doing left. The King Gardens is one of the best examples. If you go back to 2010, when he said, I'm going to demolish, there were 88 illegal buildings, not houses, not apartments, buildings on a garden that belonged to the municipality, that planned to be a park, not for Jews, for Arabs. And he said, I'm going to demolish 66 from the 88. It was all over. What is her name? Clinton was then Secretary of State. She was responding to it all over the news. The headline was, Barkat is going to demolish the 88 houses. Go there now and check how many houses. 96. He didn't demolish one room. But everybody remember what he said.
What is with the plans for the new neighborhood between Bet Safafa and Gilo? It was also stopped by...
Givat HaMatos. So the Givat HaMatos, the plain hill, this is stuck. But I don't think it's stuck, but it's very, the planning process in Israel, in Jerusalem, is very slow, and especially in East Jerusalem. Today, just to understand, 2016, in all of East Jerusalem, meaning behind the Green Line, there were just 340 apartments built for Jews. 340 apartments in an area where you have about 220,000 Jews living there. So then people ask themselves, why it's so expensive to live in Israel, in Jerusalem? So it's obvious, you don't build enough. And this is why young couples, Jews of course, are leaving the city. And it's affecting again the demographics in Jerusalem. So the plan there was approved in 2013, and since then we are all waiting, still waiting.
More? Oh, okay. I have a question. I have a question for you before we move. You said you also reclaim Jewish property which was lost or taken.
I know your question already. It's okay. What about the Arab?
Yeah. So
I know the question.
So let me just finish. Aren't you afraid that Arabs will try to reclaim their property next door here, Katamon?
No.
Okay, I'm relieved.
No, and I will tell you why not. Look, 1948, there was a war. And from some reason, that I really don't know why, but from some reason, King Hussein never took the Jewish property in East Jerusalem and made it as a government property. When you check what he did to the Jewish property in the east bank of the Jordan Valley, like for example, the International Airport of Jordan in Amman, it's built property that belonged to Jews, part of it.
That's nice.
It was written many times. Even when you drive to the north in the Jordan Valley, in the Israeli side, you can see in the right side, some areas that big forests belong to the JNF. All of the property belonged to the Jews that were in the east side of the Jordan Valley, were taken by the king and become a government or the Hashemite family properties, okay? But not in East Jerusalem. Why? I didn't find any reason for that. I looked for a reason, for answer. He didn't took it. Now, what happened, what Israel did to the Arab properties for example, in Katamon, at 48, were Arabs also running away. Israel took it and it belonged today to the government, to the Israel Land Authority. Okay? And the Israel Land Authority is leasing it to the people. Exactly like happened to the Jewish property in Jordan, in the east side. Okay? So, why should I be surprised? The government of Israel did exactly like the Jordanian did, and there's no reason to be afraid from any claim like that.
No problem. Yes. Anybody? Yes, please.
In TV Japan, you said you claim the land and so that you can develop the East Jerusalem so that Jewish people can live. And the ultimate goal is, you said, in the center of the onion, which is a temple.
Mm-hmm.
You said your ultimate goal is to build the temple. And I wonder if when you say the temple, are you going to revive this practice from the second temple period, like a priest and everything? And where do you plan to build the temple? Because the Dome of the Rock is there, and you're going to destroy that and then rebuild the temple. I'm just interested in that kind of issue.
Look, I learned 8 years in the Hebrew University, I think with some of the best academic professors, scholars, okay? I didn't hear for 8 years about any importance that there is for Islam in the Dome of the Rock. If you can quote me someplace that is important to this place in the Quran, in the Hadith, something, I will maybe consider to think about what is future of this monument that was.
They believe that Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven on his horse.
No.
Barak.
This is the Western Wall. El Burak. Why they call the Western Wall El Burak? Because he tied the horse
Right.
to this wall. And from there he went up. But the Dome of the Rock, it's after Muhammad. It's not from his time. It's not Al-Aqsa. Even about Al-Aqsa, it depends who you ask. Some people will tell you, and millions are saying, that Al-Aqsa is in Saudi Arabia. Okay? I'm not going to decide who is right, okay? But millions of Muslims believe that Al-Aqsa is not in where we think it is. But the Dome of the Rock, nothing. So
now they say he ascended from the rock itself, and they show his footprint or whatever. That's what they tell.
the important, the holiness of the place, it's not become from that is a mosque. Again, it's much later than him, of Muhammad. Now, I'm not saying that there is no holiness to the place, to the Muslims. Some holiness, it's okay. I'm not against it, that they have some claim to that this place is holy. But from the Islam perspective, there are three places that are holy in the Islam world. It's Mecca, Medina, and then Al-Aqsa. Al-Quds, in Al-Quds. Again, some of them believe it's here in Jerusalem. The Dome of the Rock, it's the only holy site that we have. Not one, not two, not three. One only. And if you're asking me, for the benefit of the Muslims, because I really believe in our prophets. It's written that it's written that the house of God will be house for all nations. For all nations. ביתי בתפילה יקרא לכל העמים. To all nations, not just to us.
So where do you build the temple? On top of Al-Aqsa?
Not Al-Aqsa.
No.
Al-Aqsa is south.
So
Al-Aqsa is south. Al-Aqsa, if we look at the Temple Mount,
Dome
so
of the Rock.
the Dome of the Rock is at the top, and then naturally the mountain is going down, but a road just straightened it. Here they have Al-Aqsa, south from the Dome of the Rock. South. Why? Because they wanted to have the back.
So what do you do with Dome of the Rock? You demolish it?
The monument, I will move it everywhere they want. Yeah.
That sounds quite a challenge.
You know, when, I will tell you like that, you go whenever you want to the Temple Mount and check how many Arabs you saw davening, praying at the Dome of the Rock. Okay? I never went there because I'm not allowed. According to the Jewish religion, it's a place that is just the holy priest is allowed to go there. Okay? So but I saw many pictures. I never saw, and I'm sure there are.
Arie King went there, no?
Okay, also...
He's a high priest or what?
No. I'm saying that I'm sure there are Arabs that are praying there. I'm sure they made it a mosque. Also, by the way, how you call the church in the Christian quarter? The Holy Sepulchre. What is next to it? Right next to it. When you go out from the church, what do you have in front of your eyes?
Mosque of Omar.
Another Omar mosque. Another Omar. They built a mosque everywhere in the world, not just in Jerusalem, where there was something holy to the other religions. So with all the respect to Omar, that had mosque everywhere that Jews had religious places or Christians had religious places, with all the respect, yes, one temple to the Jewish people is much more important than another mosque that Omar built somewhere that the only reason that he built it because it was a holy place to the Jews.
And you are not concerned with the reaction of all Muslims in the world, you know?
I do, exactly like I believe.
Because this is, evangelicals call it the Armageddon. Like, okay, when it happens, but then for other reasons, for Christian reasons. But here, you're not concerned about the, people from Indonesia to Morocco will rise.
Did you heard one Indonesian leader talking about the Dome of the Rock or Al-Aqsa? Please send me a quote of a leader about the Dome of the Rock. I know what I'm talking. They are talking about Al-Aqsa.
Al-Aqsa.
I'm not talking about Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is something else. I'm talking about the Dome of the Rock. No. The Muslims,
They're talking about
they're talking about Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is 1 mosque south from where I'm talking about. Misgad al-Omar, that is about the foundation stone of the wall. Above this,
Is there a
Dome.
way to build the temple without demolishing?
There are kind of. I saw one guy.
Once you start being creative.
No, I'm not
maybe-
creative. I don't look. I believe.
But it's-
Look, 50 years plus 6 days from today, there was a big miracle exactly where we're now sitting. Okay, Israel won a war that they didn't have any chance to win. No chance. We had 200 aircraft, and the Arab armies altogether, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, had almost 1,000. Soldiers, one soldier Israeli, they had about 8. No chance. Tanks, the aircraft we had, old Mirage that we got from France, they had Sukhoi, MiG, brand new. The only reason we won this war, it was because we were united and God wanted us to win. There was no plan. I was in the officer academy of the IDF, of the Israel Army. And I did the work when I was there I looked for the plans that the IDF had, the army had, the Israeli army had, in order to release or to free East Jerusalem. There was no plans. No plans. Can you imagine how the army, with old cars, old command cars and tanks, everything, how the army, Israeli army, beat it.
So it was an act of God.
There's no question. There's no, the outcome, the most dangerous place in any war, it's in a building area. So you can imagine in the old city, many soldiers should be killed. Not even one soldier was injured, not killed.
Yes.
When you were talking about building the temple, there are various streams within Judaism. The secular don't care. Within the Haredim, some say Mashiach will bring the temple. Others say we have to prepare. Others say we have to build.
Yeah.
So how to combine this? And then what she already asked, does a temple mean for you full sacrifice, or can there be something in between?
Let's get the temple first.
I will tell you where I believe it will happen when we will really want it, and it will be exactly like I was asked the same question this weekend. I was in some place in central of Israel, and I said sometimes you cannot understand the way that God is making things happen. Look, who were all the soldiers, the officers, the leaders of this country when we released and when we freed East Jerusalem? Secular people, leftists, okay? They participated from my perspective, in the biggest miracle that we had as a Jewish nation. And who were the leaders, who were the people that God decided that they will lead us? People that are secular, almost as ideology. And I think the same thing will happen. But why they won? Because everyone wanted it. And it's happened. I believe that the same thing when God will see that we plan and we prepare ourselves and we want to see the temple. So some of that will happen with real active, real action that we will do, and some will come with interference of God. If he could create this world that we live in, it's nothing for him to make this miracle happen. And I just can tell to all of you here that I wish to all of us that we will see it in our time. I'll give you a short story. 2 years ago,
To conclude.
2 years ago, I was asked by somebody from the United Nations, that is, there is a United Nations, there is a organization that is dealing with relation between religions, okay? In United Nations. So a guy that is from India, he is the head of this organization, the United Nations, and he asked me to come and talk with a group of, he brought leaders from Africa, from India, from China, from everywhere, many religions. And we were standing on Mount of Olives, and I'm explaining about Al-Aqsa, everything you asked me now. Al-Aqsa, you see the Dome of the Rock, this is where the temple was. Stories. This is where I live, this is the cemetery, everything. When I finished, one of the religious leaders from India came up to me, and he took out a check, and he wrote $10,000 check. I said, and he gave it to me. He said, "I want to participate in building your temple."
And where's the money?
I passed him to a called the Temple Institute in the Jewish Quarter. That they are building the tools of or the things that are inside the temple. I told him they are dealing with that. But look, I believe he knows exactly what I believe, that the temple would bring peace, and a real peace, like happened here, the same place here, during the first temple period and the second temple.
On this happy note, thank you very much, Arieh. And as always, we give our speakers a membership card. So
Thank you.
So you are now
Thank you very, very much.
Officially a member of the Jerusalem Press Club.
It's my honor.
Okay, thank you very
My
much.
honor.
And you have something to give.
I have
to
here
people?
something to give you. It's something that, if you want to understand, I forgot to talk about it, but
Next time.
no. This is people are talking. Okay, what's the future? What's the future? So this is here. I came now from the Knesset. There was a meeting in the Knesset about Jerusalem, the future of Jerusalem. Everybody are talking, including the mayor. Everybody are talking, and I'm saying, look, don't talk. We have plans. This is the only plan for how we want to see Jerusalem in 2000. What?
Have you included
Oh,
the
yeah,
cable
the
car?
cable
The cable car, by the way, where it came from?
From you.
This was written 5 years ago. The cable car is here, and this is just a summary. By the way, you know who?
You give it to them, or
Yeah.
you just hold it?
I will give you to that. I will give you that, but I will tell you something more surprising. You know who is behind of it? It's somebody that all of you using, I believe, something that he invaded a few years ago. And when he started with this invasion, המצאה.
No, invention.
Invention, when he started with that, people said that you are loony. This is the guy that started and invaded.
No, it depends what you want to say.
Invented Skype. Okay? When he started with Skype, and I saw letters from people told him, "Yeah, you are mad. How can people talk and look through it will never work." This guy did billions. Okay? From selling it to eBay and then selling to Microsoft. This guy, he said, it's time also to plan Jerusalem. And this is his plan, not mine. I was honored to advise them, but you can see much more than that. This is just a summary.
Give them
This is how Jerusalem should be built
in the future.
in the future.